You know that feeling when you walk into a cafe, you step up to the counter, look up at the menu board, and suddenly you feel less like you're trying to order a morning beverage and, well, more like you're trying to decipher a graduate level science textbook.
Oh, yeah, totally. You walk in seeking, basic caffeine, and instead you're immediately thrust into this high stakes vocabulary test.
Right. You just want a hot cup of bean water, but suddenly you need a translator.
So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking way past the caffeine.
We really are.
Yeah, we're diving into a fascinating set of materials, primarily a transcript that explores the daily language and culture surrounding our coffee habits. We are going to decode the hidden sociology, the psychology, and the unspoken rules of this daily ritual.
Because it's so much more than just a drink, right?
Exactly. We want to understand how this one simple drink dictates our social lives, our self-image, and honestly, our basic daily survival. And to help connect the dots between linguistic terms and human behavior, I've got our resident expert here to guide us through. Thanks for having me. The gap between the liquid and the cup and how it shapes human behavior it's a wild space to explore. I'm really looking forward to unpacking this.
Okay, so let's unpack this menu minefield first. Because one of the most visceral concepts we're looking at today is this idea of menu intimidation.
Oh, the menu intimidation is so real.
Right, we're talking about walking in and being hit with terms like single origin pour over or bright
It's
acidity.
chocolate notes, floral finish, yeah.
Exactly. Even native English speakers feel completely lost when the menu gets this technical. It feels, I don't know, it feels like gatekeeping.
Oh, it absolutely acts as a gatekeeper. What we're seeing here is industry language masquerading as consumer language. Let's actually decode a couple of those terms because the irony is that the concepts aren't actually that complicated.
Wait, really? Because they sound complicated.
They do, but they aren't. Take single origin. That simply means the beans came from one specific farm or region rather than being a blend from, like, multiple countries.
Oh, so it's like buying a tomato from a specific local farm instead of a supermarket mix.
Exactly. And bright acidity is just the polite, sophisticated way of saying the coffee tastes slightly sour or tangy, almost like a green apple or a citrus fruit, rather than being deeply bitter.
Right. But the industry dresses these basic facts up in this tuxedo of vocabulary just to justify a $7 price tag.
A very expensive tuxedo, yes.
And because it's dressed in a tuxedo, we feel completely underdressed, standing there in our sweatpants. The coping mechanism people use here is hilarious, but, like, painfully true.
You just stand there nodding.
Yes, you just stand there nodding politely at the barista with this glazed look, internally screaming, "Ah, yes, the floral finish, obviously," while silently praying they do not have a follow-up question.
But they always do. The follow-up question is the ultimate trap, because if you survive the bean selection, suddenly you are hit with, well, what kind of milk would you like?
Oh man, oat milk, almond milk, soy, whole skim, extra foam.
Half sweet?
It's paralyzing. Ordering at a modern cafe has basically become the real-world equivalent of blindly accepting the terms and conditions on a software update.
That is such a good analogy.
We don't actually understand the language. We definitely haven't read the details, but we just aggressively hit "I
Right.
agree" so we can get what we want and move on with our lives.
Right, you're just hitting accept on the oat milk so you don't hold up the line. But from a sociological perspective, this matters because language is, well, it's fundamentally designed to connect us and facilitate an exchange.
Makes sense.
But when language becomes this specialized in a casual setting, it generates instant anxiety. The best way to bypass this, which is a great practical takeaway from the source, is to just refuse to play the vocabulary game.
Refuse how? Like, just point at the menu.
No, you just don't have to speak their specialized language. You can simply describe the physical sensation you want.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, asking for something mild or creamy or just throwing yourself on the mercy of the barista and asking for a recommendation, that instantly removes the stress of performance.
It strips away all the pretense. But there's another layer to this menu anxiety, and it's the idea that a coffee order isn't just a financial transaction. Like, it's a personality test.
Oh, absolutely. A mood indicator.
Right. The identity of your order speaks volumes before you ever even open your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, an espresso silently broadcasts to the room, "I'm busy, I'm efficient, and I am important."
While a caramel latte, heavily laden with whipped cream and syrup, sends a completely different message.
Completely different.
It's essentially a silent plea saying, please be kind to me, life has been long, and I require comfort. It's this stark contrast between projecting quiet, aggressive confidence, and openly admitting you need a hug and a cup.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk in wanting to be the serious black coffee minimalist person.
You want to project that aesthetic.
Totally. But then you see the caramel, you see the whipped cream, and that minimalist confidence completely evaporates because it's been a tough Tuesday and you just want the sugar.
Yeah, it's the tension between the identity we want to project and the biological comfort we actually need in that exact moment.
So if what we order is essentially our psychological armor, what happens when we take that armor into the actual battlefield? I mean, the physical space of the cafe itself.
Right, the environment.
Yeah, the materials we're reviewing spent a lot of time dissecting the psychology of physical space, focusing heavily on this concept of ambiance.
Well, ambiance is the invisible product cafes are actually selling. It's the aggregate mood dictated by the lighting, the acoustic profile, the smell, the tactile feel of the furniture.
Everything but the drink.
It is literally everything except the liquid in the cup.
And we see these two extreme environments.
Mm-hmm.
On one end, you have the Holy Grail, a cozy space, quiet jazz music playing, heavy wooden tables, plants in every single corner.
Yes, the ideal spot.
You walk into a place like this, open a laptop, and instantly feel creative, even if you spend the next hour just staring at a blinking cursor.
But just feeling the capacity for creativity is a psychological benefit. You are, like, absorbing the aesthetic.
But then you have the negative extreme.
Yeah.
Cafes with glaring white lights, metal chairs scraping loudly against concrete floors.
Oh, that sound is the worst.
It is. Tiny tables where you're elbow to elbow with a stranger. The outcome of that environment is described in the text as drinking stress.
Drinking stress. It's a perfect descriptor for the visceral, physical tightening you feel in an unoptimized space.
But here is where I want to push back a little bit on this idea of ambiance ruling everything.
Okay, let's hear it.
When we talk about the physical environment dictating our mood to this profound degree, like, are we actually chasing a flavor when we go to these cafes? Or are we really just paying $7 to rent a feeling for an hour?
Well, what's fascinating here is I'd actually challenge the premise that it's an either-or situation. You aren't just renting a feeling. The flavor and the environment are chemically intertwined.
Really? How so?
Through the placebo effect and classical conditioning. But to address the environment piece specifically, what you're paying for is a biological reset.
A biological reset.
Yeah, humans have an evolutionary response to certain environments. It's a concept called biophilia. When we're surrounded by natural elements like wood grain and green plants, our cortisol levels naturally drop.
Oh, wow. So the plants aren't just there for Instagram.
Not at all. They are actively downregulating your nervous system.
Yeah.
And then you add to that the acoustic dampening of heavy wooden tables versus echoing metal chairs.
Right, the scraping metal.
Exactly. In a loud, bright environment with scraping metal, your brain is constantly processing high-frequency auditory threats. That triggers a low-level fight-or-flight response.
Which is the drinking stress.
Precisely. That is the drinking stress. But when you walk into a dimly lit space with soft jazz and plants, your sympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for stress, it's signaled to stand down.
That makes so much sense.
You are paying for a safe harbor where your brain doesn't have to subconsciously scan for predators. And when you pair that relaxed state with the specific, complex bitterness of a roasted coffee, your brain associates that flavor profile with safety and focus.
Okay, paying for a biological reset, that actually makes the $7 sting a little less.
For sure.
But let's take the commercial cafe entirely out of the equation for a second. Because an equally fascinating part of this deep dive is what happens when the environment is just your own kitchen at, like, 6:30 in the morning.
The morning routine.
Yes.
Okay.
This brings us to the deeply personal, almost isolated ways we use coffee to anchor our day.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the home routine is where we see a vital distinction between a mindless habit and a meaningful ritual.
Right, because a habit is tying your shoes or brushing your teeth. You don't even think about it.
Exactly.
But a ritual has an emotional weight attached to it. The description of the morning coffee ritual we found in the source was dramatic, but frankly, it's brutally honest.
Oh, it really is.
It's that act of making the coffee, holding the warm mug with both hands, staring blankly at a wall, and literally waiting for your personality to return.
It's the universal transitional space between the vulnerability of sleep and the demands of societal expectation.
It's literally used as a mechanism to enter the day. Because without that transition, waking up feels like being pushed into a meeting you didn't agree to attend.
I love that phrasing.
So if you're listening to this on your commute right now, think about your morning today. Did you chug your coffee while rushing out the door, or did you take that one silent minute for yourself?
If we look at the mechanics of why that minute is so critical, rituals are entirely about claiming agency.
Agency over your time.
Yes. Think about the architecture of a modern morning. From the second your eyes open, your time is under siege.
Oh, for sure.
It belongs to the alarm clock, the barrage of overnight text messages, your inbox, the demands of your family, the relentless news cycle. Your autonomy is stripped away instantly.
It really is.
So taking that 1 minute to hold a warm cup and stare at the wall, that is a deliberate act of rebellion. It is you claiming 1 minute of absolute control before surrendering to the noise.
It creates a psychological buffer zone.
Exactly. It signals to the brain that the day is initiating on your terms. You are the one opening the gates to the day, rather than the day kicking your door down.
I love that. You open the gates, the day doesn't kick your door down. So the morning ritual is fundamentally about survival. It's about initiating the human operating system. But as the day progresses, we hit the afternoon.
The dreaded 3 p.m.
Yes, and the 3 p.m. coffee serves a completely different, highly functional purpose. If the morning is survival, the afternoon is repair.
The 3 p.m. repair is where the physiological chemical effects of caffeine smash directly into our modern work culture.
Right, and first, we have to talk about the taste of the coffee we use for this repair, specifically black coffee. It's heavily debated as an acquired taste.
Right, like dark chocolate.
Exactly. It's put in the same category as dark chocolate, strong glue cheese, or dry humor. It's something you initially dislike. Some people joke that your first sip of black coffee just tastes like sadness, but slowly you learn to appreciate it.
Well, it requires repeated exposure. You have to train your palate to push past the initial biological warning sign of bitterness, which, evolutionary biology tells us means poison.
Oh, right. Bitter means poison to our brains.
Exactly. You have to push past that to find the complex flavor notes underneath.
But whether you're powering through bitter black coffee or a sweet vanilla latte, the goal at 3 p.m. is identical. We are all just trying to survive the 3 p.m. crash.
The 3 p.m. crash is brutal.
Your brain basically starts functioning like an old computer with a slow-loading spinning circle on the screen.
Everyone recognizes that spinning circle. A colleague asks you a simple question, and there's a noticeable lag in your processing speed. And there is a very specific biological mechanism happening here. Throughout the day, as your brain uses energy, it produces a byproduct called adenosine. Think of adenosine as tiny chemical keys that fit into receptors in your brain.
Okay, keys and locks.
As more keys fit into the locks throughout the day, the brain registers that it's tired and needs sleep.
So the spinning circle is literally your brain filling up with these exhaustion keys.
Exactly. Now, caffeine molecules are shaped almost exactly like adenosine molecules.
Oh, interesting.
When you drink that 3 p.m. coffee, the caffeine rushes into your brain and plugs up those receptors. It doesn't actually give you new energy.
No, wait, it doesn't?
Nope. It simply blocks the brain's ability to feel how tired it actually is. It acts as chemical earplugs against exhaustion.
Wow. Chemical earplugs. So what does this all mean? We reach for this chemical blocker, and it's categorized as either a pick-me-up or an indulgence.
Right, and the distinction there is really important.
It is really interesting. A pick-me-up is purely functional energy. It fixes the spinning circle. And a pick-me-up doesn't even have to be coffee, right? It could be a brisk walk around the block, handful of almonds, or a nice text message from a friend.
Exactly. Anything that boosts you.
But an indulgence is a different beast entirely.
An indulgence is a small, deliberate pleasure. A treat. It's something extra you allow yourself to enjoy without attaching guilt to it.
And this leads to what I consider an absolute masterclass in personal PR.
Oh, the rebranding.
Yes. It's the framing of taking a caramel latte with extra whipped cream, something society often tells us to view as a dietary weakness, and completely rebranding it as an indulgence. Why is changing that one specific word so incredibly important for our mindset?
Because words carry immense emotional weight and dictate our self-worth. The word weakness implies a moral failing.
Like you gave in.
Right. It suggests you fought a battle with your willpower and you lost. It layers your afternoon with shame. Indulgence, on the other hand, implies deliberate, conscious permission.
Conscious permission.
It's a soft, forgiving word. It means you are intentionally allowing yourself a little pleasure. We shouldn't feel guilty for these treats because a small indulgence is a vital psychological tool.
I totally agree.
When you are slogging through an ordinary, grueling, monotonous Wednesday, a fancy coffee and a croissant isn't a failure of discipline. It's a tiny celebration.
It's a miniature reward system we build for ourselves just to make the day feel a little brighter and honestly a little more survivable.
It breaks up the monotony of productivity with a moment of joy.
So we've talked about personal energy, the psychology of treats, our isolated morning rituals, but there's one final aspect of coffee culture that looks entirely beyond the individual.
The social aspect.
Yes, here's where it gets really interesting. It's how coffee serves as the ultimate low-stakes bridge between human beings.
Yeah.
It is the modern world's ultimate social lubricant.
The phrase, "let's grab a coffee," is one of the most ubiquitous and powerful phrases in modern English.
It is incredibly powerful because it provides a perfectly comfortable, casual frame for socializing. Think about the alternatives. You would never text an acquaintance or a new colleague and say, hey, would you like to schedule a serious conversation about our lives over a three-course meal?
No way. Dinner is a hostage situation.
Yes.
It requires a massive commitment of time, money, and emotional energy. It carries far too much pressure for a new connection.
It's way too heavy. But let's grab a coffee is brilliant because it comes with a built-in, socially acceptable escape clause.
The escape clause is key.
Right. If a coffee date or a networking meeting is going terribly, you can finish your drink in 15 minutes, say you have a meeting to get to, and just leave. But if it's going great, you can nurse that exact same cup of coffee for 3 hours. The stakes are entirely adjustable.
And the physical setting itself acts as a conversational shield. You don't have to jump straight into deep, vulnerable talk. The environment gives you easy, built-in opening questions to break the ice.
Like, what are you having?
Exactly. Do you come to this cafe often? What do you usually order? Are you a hot or iced coffee person? It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for human connection.
You don't need to arrive with a perfect topic or a prepared agenda. You just start by talking about the weather and the roast of the beans, and that naturally builds a bridge to deeper, more real conversation.
Yeah, you just need a cup, a chair, and one honest question.
It reminds me a bit of the modern smoker's break,
Hmm.
obviously without the health hazards. But historically, smokers got these sanctioned moments to step away from their desks, go outside, and casually bond with people from totally different departments. Coffee gives the rest of us a socially acceptable excuse to step away from the grind and connect.
That analogy holds up perfectly. And this raises an important question when we look at everything we've synthesized today. The true value of coffee culture isn't really the caffeine at all, is it?
Not at all. I mean, the caffeine is almost the byproduct.
The caffeine is simply the alibi.
The alibi.
Yes, the true value is that it forces us to sit across from someone else and hit pause. It provides a universally accepted, socially sanctioned excuse for taking a break from the relentless drive of productivity.
So true.
You can look at your boss, or your family, or your own anxious brain and say, I am not wasting time, I am getting coffee. It socially sanctions the act of slowing down in a world that demands constant acceleration.
Wow. It socially sanctions the act of slowing down. That is exactly what it does. So let's recap this journey we've been on today.
It's been quite a ride.
It has. We started by navigating the intimidating, jargon-filled minefield of modern cafe menus, realizing that our drink orders are secretly broadcasting our psychological needs to the world.
Yep.
We learned how to avoid drinking stress by seeking out acoustic dampening and biophilia to soothe our nervous systems. We distinguished our deeply personal morning survival rituals from mindless habits, claiming agency over our day.
A very important distinction.
Absolutely. We explored the biology of adenosine and gave ourselves permission to rebrand our sugary weaknesses as necessary, joy-bringing afternoon indulgences. And finally, we saw how a simple invitation to grab a coffee acts as a low-pressure escape clause that fosters human connection.
It's remarkable, really. We've essentially covered the complexities of the human condition, all filtered through the lens of roasted beans and oat milk.
We really have. But before we sign off, there's one final, somewhat provocative thought I want to leave you with, building on everything we've explored today.
Think about this. If the physical cup of coffee is just an excuse, an alibi to pause our busy lives, to seek out a quiet ambiance to reset our nervous systems, or to sit across from a friend for 20 minutes, what happens to our society if we optimize our lives so much that we completely eliminate the cafe?
Right. What if we lose that space?
If our pursuit of efficiency means we only ever consume our coffee through drive-through windows, mobile pre-orders, and automated kiosks, rushing on to the next task without ever sitting down, perhaps the true acquired taste we need to cultivate in the hyper-modern world isn't black coffee at all. Perhaps the acquired taste we most desperately need to practice is The Lost Art of Doing Absolutely Nothing for 20 Minutes.
The Lost Art of Doing Absolutely Nothing. I think we could all use a little more of that practice. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Next time you're standing in front of that menu that looks like a science textbook, don't let the vocabulary intimidate you. Order whatever indulgence helps you survive the day and savor that 3 p.m. pick-me-up. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.